continuing on my 4-part video series of my full elaborate skincare routine. This here is video 2 of 4, and I'll be discussing my retinoid routine today. Video 1 already discussed my morning exfoliating routine, so I'll link that down below. Video 3 will be more about peptides, and then video 4 will be like my indulgent routine. So I won't repeat everything that I said in the first video, otherwise I'd just be saying exactly the same thing. So if you want to learn about the skin treatments I'm using, supplements, and even just general devices, then you might just want to hop over to video 1, which is sort of like the first section of that video, just goes over some of my skin history. But otherwise I'll get moving into this video pretty quickly. Something I did want to mention today that I didn't discuss in the previous one is just in terms of like the products that I use and skincare marketing and skincare categories. I don't really have a focus on any particular lane of skincare, so I'm totally happy to use drugstore. I love to play around with luxury products and everything in between. So I don't think luxury products are a waste of money. I don't think they're better, but I also don't necessarily think that there aren't good products available in every range. But yeah, basically you'll see like a mixture of a lot of different brands, because I think most brands have good and bad products. And I don't like to judge or assess anything as like a blanket statement. It's really just about trying and enjoying things from different places. And a lot of the reason I like to mix things up in this way is because it's really what keeps skincare engaging. I think if you're constantly just using the same products from the same brand and you're never branching out anywhere, then, you know, maybe for some people that works if they're more just interested in like the literal like hygiene of skincare, because I enjoy it for indulgent reasons too, you know, playing around with different scents, colors, textures, packaging, that's all part of the fun. So the purpose of this video is really to discuss how I work in my retinoid. Just to give you some general feedback, I have been using retinoids for years and years, like it would probably be approaching 10 years. And I started tretinoin in like maybe late 2020. It took me a little bit of time to like acclimate and get used to it. So the routine that I'm discussing with you is kind of based on somebody that has been using retinoids for a while. If you're fairly new to retinoids, especially like Diviant or tretinoin, then I'll link a video down below where I discuss some tips when you're starting on a retinoid journey. But so as you watch this is based on more of like a seasoned retinoid user. As always, I tend to blab a lot in these intros, so let me shut up finally and get into my routine explanation. And I will throw in cut-ins of some of the products that I'm actually using. And if you have any of your own suggestions, I would love to hear from you, so let me know in the comments. So I think it's probably common for anybody in the skincare community to start their evening routine with a double cleanse. Or if you've watched my videos for a while, you'll know that I actually do a little bit of a triple cleanse. And that's because I often use Micellar water as a toner. So there's usually some sort of oil or cream to start with, and some sort of foaming gel second. And then I'll often follow with a micellar specifically to pick up like leftover sunscreen around my hairline and ears. And with double cleansing, I'm definitely not loyal to cleansers. This is the category that I play around a lot in. So I do switch them around very often. And I'm sure if I've spoken about cleansing, you've probably heard tons of conflicting feedback from me because I do just move around so much. So in today's routine, I decided to start off with a cream cleanser by Biologique Recherche. This one is especially gentle, and since I wasn't really trying to work like much off my skin, it works really well as like a just gentle cleanser. But lately I've really been enjoying the Sunday Riley cleanser, Aquamarine I think it's called, also La Belle Lune cleansing balm. I think the Clinique Take the Day Off is a really good option. I just actually ordered the new Dieux cleanser, so I'm really excited for that to come. And I've got the Crave Makeup Rewind back in rotation as well. The Crave that I just bought though, just to mention randomly, the scent is a little bit off this time, so I've used a few bottles, but this definitely smells a lot less fresh than it used to. So I don't know if the batches have changed or something, but that's probably altered how I feel about it a little bit. So I'm a bit sad about that. We'll see how we go anyway moving forward. Generally speaking, I do enjoy using cream cleansers a lot, so I often reach for them. But and I've also really been loving the Rationale balm cleanser, so that's such a good one. Really, I just like to have a few different textural options depending on my mood on the day. I then follow this cleanse with the Dieux Baptism gel cleanser, which is probably my all-time favorite, definitely one of my all-time favorite gel cleansers. It has a bit more body to it, so it's not so runny and stringy as a lot of them, so I feel actually quite indulgent using it, even though it's just a gel cleanser. After using these two products, my skin actually usually feels quite clean and refreshed anyway, especially with Dieux Baptism. It does such a good job at like cleaning my skin, so I don't feel like it's imparting any noticeable residue. So often when I'm using the Dieux cleanser, I actually don't really need to go in with with a micellar as well, but sometimes I'll still use micellar at least around my hairline and ears, just again as that backup to remove sunscreen. After my cleansing step is done, I actually do a double essence or like a double essence toner step. I've really been enjoying the Ordinary Multi-Active Delivery Essence, and I've just the concept of this product and the ingredients they're using, you know, makes sense to me in terms of assisting a lot of the absorption of other things that follow. And I also really enjoy the Ordinary Milky Toner, and these two together, I think they sit, you know, really nicely. The Multi-Active Delivery Essence is much more watery, but the Milky Toner has a little bit of that oil kick to it. And I consider both of these to be like true prep step products. With the Multi-Active Delivery Essence, it can start to soap up or foam up a little bit, which I don't experience too often, but I feel like it dissipates really easily in my skin, even if that happens. So it hasn't been a deal breaker in this case. Now, sometimes I'm not in the mood for a milky toner on top of the delivery essence. So in this step, I'll sometimes also integrate something like the La Mer treatment lotion, or even like the new Chantecaille 24K Gold. Really, any essence would go here. It doesn't really matter too much what it is. After a double essence, then it's time for a niacinamide step. And if not niacinamide specifically, some type of like barrier repair or barrier care product. It's just I find they often contain niacinamide. Dew Deliverance is my long-time favorite, but I often also reach for the Biologique serum. The Ordinary Pink serum is a great one, and even the more recent Sunday Riley B3. And you might have seen as well, but I often mix a few drops of the Ordinary Pycnogenol in my niacinamide, especially if I'm using pink serum. That's just a really nice combo. I feel like Pycnogenol helps a little bit with skin redness, but I'm still like not 100% sure. It's just like an affordable product that I'm willing to keep in my routine, even just for its antioxidant benefit. Now is the time for the actual star of the show, the retinoid. These days I'm almost always using tretinoin, but when I was getting ready to film this video, just like a few days, a week prior, Deviant sent me their new retinal serum, and I was really impressed with like the combination of ingredients they've included. So I thought I'd give this one a go for a little while. So in this video, I'm actually using the Deviant serum just to get a feel of the texture, but really any retinoid would go in this step. After I applied my retinoid, I usually give it a moment or two just to absorb. Not too long, I just don't want to feel like a tacky sensation, so it's usually just a few seconds, enough for it to just settle down. So after my retinoid, I'll then move on to eye cream, and with eye cream, I know some people prefer doing their eye product first, but I actually want my retinoid to creep up to my eye area, and I don't want to necessarily sandwich it with too much. So I usually apply more moisturizing things, including my eye products, on top of my retinoid. Now, when I'm using tretinoin, I actually use Tret as my eye cream. So I actually move that up fairly close to my eye contour. Not too close, but close enough to where it's targeting some of the fine lines there. With the Deviant product, I didn't do that because of the other ingredients that are included. So typically, if I'm integrating an eye cream with a retinoid, then I'll use something fairly simple that's focused on hydration. And in this case, I reached for the Deeux Oracle, which is more of like an eye gel. It has a really comforting and plush gel texture that is really quite invisible on the skin. My final step for this part of my evening skincare routine with a retinoid is to apply an emulsion. An emulsion is a category of skincare that not everybody uses. I think it probably was popularized out of K-beauty. Now, from what I understand, in a traditional K-beauty routine, you would normally use an emulsion after like an essence. It would typically sit before a serum, but the way that I preferred using an emulsion is actually after serum and after retinoids especially. So it adds a little bit of a buffering effect without too much moisturization. In this particular routine, I use the O2 Lipid Cream from Sweet Chemistry. This has matrikine peptides in there, so I would consider it like an age support serum. That I really like the concept of applying this type of ingredient with a retinoid. So that 1-2 punch with retinoids and peptides is really what I'm looking for in an evening retinoid routine. Now, this product I think technically is designed as more of a moisturizer, but the texture of it is quite light, so I've just decided to embrace it as an emulsion. But other emulsions that I've used in this step would be like the new one from Chanel. There's one from Clarins. I love the one from Sulwhasoo. So you'll often see it actually labeled as an emulsion, so that gives you an automatic idea of the texture. Although I've come to really enjoy applying emulsion because of the cushiony, bouncy skin feel, this is definitely not like a necessary part of a skincare routine, and some people would be able to use an emulsion in place of a serum or an emulsion in place of an essence. As we've discussed before, I just prefer an elaborate routine with light layers, and by integrating an emulsion, I'm able to then add actives that maybe don't appear in my other products. So where I'm interested in seeing some star ingredients that I don't use elsewhere, I'll usually try and fit it in an emulsion. Now, at this point in time, I would consider my evening retinoid routine to be fairly complete. But the reason I say this is because I actually treat my evening routine in sort of 2 stages or 2 steps, which sounds a little bit complicated, but it's actually very simple. I tend to do my evening routine pretty early in the night. So often I'll come home from work, have dinner, and then around that sort of 6:30, 7 p.m. time, I'll actually do my routine, and then I'll stop at this emulsion point. So I've done my retinoid and I've given my skin some of that light nourishment. This level of moisturization isn't enough to kind of last me through the night. So what I end up doing is then after I've watched what I want to watch or done social media or whatever, I'll then come back a couple of hours later and everything has already absorbed. So it sort of feels like my skin has not much on it. But because I want to properly buffer my retinoid and just ensure that I'm supporting my skin with like full moisturization, this is when I'll then apply a layer of moisturizer. Something like Dieux Instant Angel is one I commonly use. I've really been enjoying the Jordan Samuel Skin Moisture Recovery. I love Dr. Sam Bunting Flawless Moisturizer Intense. Lately, I've been using the Remedy Skin, like their new Rich Cream. So any of these would typically go on as my like buffering moisturizer. My goal with these products is to get something that feels more buttery. I don't love like super oily textures in this step. And I'll usually let this moisturizer settle in for a little bit. I'll often then brush my teeth. But the true finale of my evening retinoid routine is to do a little bit of slugging. My skin still after all of this time can be sensitive to retinoids. Still sometimes get some peeling, especially around my chin area. So I use this slugging step just again to reinforce the moisturization, the kind of barrier support to try and prevent and control the light aggressiveness of a retinoid. In this step, I pretty much exclusively, almost always only use Build Skincare Bee Balm. This is a gelled squalane oil, which I've discussed 100 times before. It's kind of like what I use in place of Vaseline or Aquaphor, but because of the squalane component, I feel like it doesn't really sit on my skin as much, and over the night, it actually absorbs really nicely, and I wake up with really nourished feeling skin. And because it has a bit more of like a gelled component to it, it doesn't feel anywhere near as like suffocating or like slimy, I guess, for lack of a better word. It is still a barrier balm and it is still an ointment, so it does still like sit on the surface on the skin. As I've said before, I call it like my skin halo, because it's almost like it just hovers over all the areas, kind of creating like a mesh or a shield. So yeah, it's just the type of product that I think is underrated. I love how lightweight it feels, so it's not too heavy on all of these other skin layers. It's never done anything in terms of clogging pores or exacerbating breakouts or anything like that. So just love Bee Balm. Now, the sequence of these skincare steps does change a little bit. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for such an elaborate routine, so I might shave off one of the essences, or I might leave off one serum, maybe skip the emulsion. And often I will actually apply my moisturizer at the start of the evening on top of my emulsion, and then I'll leave Bee Balm as the finale product after I brush my teeth. So that's also often how my routine happens. It just varies because, I don't stick to it with that much stringency. I would say like my non-negotiables though would of course be cleansing, at least one essence, usually one serum, moisturizer, tretinoin or retinoid, and definitely Bee Balm. So I'll pretty much skip everything, but I won't skip Bee Balm. So that slugging step is very important to me on retinoid nights specifically. Well, that's the end of my retinoid routine explanation. I don't know if this video was as useful as the first one, because I think a lot of the reason I use these products overlaps with what I discussed to start with. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about particular steps or about particular products. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.